The world of Berserk is actually one person, and all the characters that we know and love and hate are actually just fragments of its psyche. I say this because Berserk is heavily influenced by Carl Jung and his theories, which I don't see a lot of people talk about. They mostly mention existentialism and, of course, Nietzsche, which is fair. I mean, Griffith is the literal embodiment of the Nietzschean Übermensch, the man who literally rejects social norms and transcends humanity, becoming femto, aka superhuman, aka the Übermensch. And of course, Guts, the literal embodiment of existentialism, the idea that you have to find your own meaning and stick to it as a way to survive and struggle against this indifferent, ruthless world. But in my humble opinion, I think that the overall world and character dynamics of the Berserk story is mostly very similar to the ideas of Carl Jung. And it is all summarized here. This diagram basically explains all of Berserk, and we can even make predictions on what the ending might be. And I would like to talk about that in this series of videos I'll hopefully be making. This video is only a simple introduction. So as a start, I'd like to talk about this guy. Some people love him, others hate him, but we cannot deny that Sigmund Freud is very influential and very important to the field of psychology. He was and still is very important because he popularized and explored the idea of the unconscious mind, this side of our psyche that is mostly hidden to us, but very important. It may seem obvious to us now, but at that time it was very revolutionary and it allowed the field of psychology to go through a lot of breakthroughs, allowing us to understand how important it is to heal our trauma and that mental and emotional illness can be very detrimental and even manifest as physical symptoms. So, thank you, Freud, for all your good contributions. Okay, now to our main boy, Carl Jung, and his life is actually pretty crazy with a lot of things happening, but I'll just give a very simplified summary of it. Jung was a weird kid growing up. He saw crazy hallucinations, and he basically had his own secret shrine in the attic. He had a couple episodes of neurosis and psychosis, but he was always a genius. He had an ability to think outside the box and was very perceptive, which will later help him develop his theory of psyche, which is a very unique theory. So skipping forward, he went to medical school in Switzerland and became a doctor slash psychiatrist. He was already studying and pushing the boundaries of the psyche with new experimental tests like word association. He later met Freud and they both clicked, becoming not only partners in research, but also very close friends. Together they explored the unconscious and made a lot of discoveries, but eventually they had a falling out. The reason for this is that Freud insisted that most, if not all, psychological phenomena stemmed from the libido, which is the sexual energy. And while Jung didn't disagree, he thought that the libido wasn't the only thing driving humans and their psyche. But Freud was too stubborn and the two men stopped working together. They still exchanged friendly letters, but their relationship mostly ended there. This gave Jung the time to fully develop his work, and he did develop some crazy ideas and theories. The thing with Jung is that he did not stick to the scientific method in or while exploring psychology. He also dabbled in the occult, in alchemy, in mythology, and religion, mainly Christianity, or at least the Gnostic version of it. He eventually ended with something like this. This diagram, as I said, is the summary of his work, and we'll be analyzing the story of Berserk based on it. I'll briefly explain it, but again, this is just the intro. We'll discuss each part more in depth as the series goes on. Firstly, the diagram shows three levels of consciousness. We have the personal conscious, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious over here. Each part or level has structures within it. The conscious level over here has the ego, which is the center of consciousness and the source of identity. And we have the persona, which is basically the social mask that we wear. The unconscious part has the shadow, which is the center of unconsciousness. And we have here the animus, which is the masculine side of women, and the anima, which is the feminine side of men. The collective here is the deepest part of human psychology, and it has what we call archetypes. Again, we'll discuss this later in the series. Okay, this was a quick introduction to Jungian psychology, just so we can delve into the story of Berserk and analyze it. Next video is probably going to be about Griffith. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, bye.